Hello everyone, my name is Jia Wei. Today, I'm going to talk about a real air crash incident that happened in 1972. Many call this incident Miracle of Andes. In 1972, a plane carrying 45 people crashed at the Andes Mountain in South America. In the harsh environment, 16 survivors ate everything they could eat, including bodies of the others with them, until they are rescued 72 days later. Now, let's go back to 1972 and see what they went through. It's October 1972. A rugby team from Uruguay was invited to a match in Chile. Due to the large number of crew members, they rented a Uruguay Air Force No. 571 aircraft. There were extra seats on the plane, so some of them were allowed to invite their family members. A team member called Nando Parado get the opportunity to bring his mother and sister. What he did not expect is there was a final trip for his mother and sister. 13 October. The plane took off on time with 45 passengers. All of them were accepted, but soon they experienced a turbulence when crossing Andes. What they did not know is a pilot flying mistakenly believed that they were reaching Chile and started to descend, but actually they were still far away from it. As the plane descended, they couldn't see much due to the clouds, and the plane were hit by more turbulence as they were in the middle of the mountains. It was too late when the pilot realized their mistake. The plane struck a mountain, shearing off both wings and the tail section of it. The remaining portion and the fuselage slid down the mountain, striking ice and snow on a glacier. 12 out of the 45 passengers died directly from the crash, including both pilots. For the rest of the 33 passengers, some were injured and some were in a coma, including Parado. His mother died in the crash and his sister was dying. The wreck was located at an elevation of 3,570 meters in the remote Andes Mountain. They are surrounded by icy snow mountain. The team leader recruited those who are not injured to form a self-rescue team to help the passengers who are stuck on the plane. When nighttime came along, they faced their first challenge, the cold. The low temperature of negative 30 degrees Celsius forced the survivors to sleep together in the plane. To get warmer, they used the dead bodies and wreckage to cover the hole. Cloth of the seat was torn off to make a big blanket. But even so, 5 people died due to hypothermia and injury the next day. On the next day, authorities realized something is wrong when the plane didn't reach according to the scheduled time. More than 10 helicopters were dispatched to search for the aircraft. After they searched more than 1 week, they still could not find the white fuselage against the white snow. They stopped their searching in the 10th day because they thought that it was impossible for the victims to survive in such harsh environment. On the 5th day of the plane crash, another survivor died, but the others were still waiting for the rescue because they had repaired a radio on the plane and knew about the searching team. 23 October, the survivors got to know from the news that the rescue operation was called off. Their last hope of survival was gone, and what was left waiting for them was death as they faced their second problem, the food. They could get water from the snow, but the food had already finished, so they started to eat the leather of the luggage but still feel too hungry and cold. They finally realized that to survive, they had to eat the meat from the dead bodies. They struggled hard, but the thought of surviving, seeing their families again, left them no choice. It was eat or die. Soon, they decided to start with the pilots. They stripped the bodies and eat all possible meat, including organs. 29 October, an avalanche occurred and they lost 8 survivors. Some of the survivors were buried in the plane for 3 days and finally got out from a hole. After 15 days, 3 survivors died from the injury and cold again. The remaining 16 survivors began to realize that as long as there is no rescue, sooner or later, they would die too. They started to make plans to save themselves. They were aware that Chile was west and remembered
The pilots had stated that they weren't far from there. They decided to hike through the mountain, but actually, they were still 59 km away from Chile, but this was the only way to save them. They had chosen the strongest one to take this trip to freedom. They were Parado and two of his friends. On 12 December, after the three members had enough rest, they stocked up some human meat, wore the warmest clothes, and started the journey to the west. This time they were lucky. Not long after departure, they found the tail of the plane with some food, luggage, and blankets. They quickly called the 13 survivors to take the supplies and also made a sleeping bag from the blankets for them to continue the trip. They climbed mountains without gears and hiked for 10 days, and finally on 22 December, they managed to leave the snow mountain and reach a valley. They were exhausted and had several injured with frostbites. Luckily, a shepherd found them and called for help. 23 December, Parador led the rescue team to the crash area to save all 13 survivors. So far, 16 survivors has been rescued. This incident was then called Miracle of Andes, and everyone was cheering for them.
But later on, people start to question them, how they survived so long without food.
The survivor couldn't keep the secret of eating human flesh anymore. Soon, people start to judge them. They call them the cannibal savages, and they don't deserve to live.
The survivors chose to silently accept the criticism and did not refute the worst condemnation on them.
In 1974, one of the survivors, Canessa, wrote a book named I Had to Survive that tells the 72 days survival experience. He said, "Eating human flesh is the most painful experience for my life, but is it that word? Definitely. This is for those who survive to stay alive. If my body is on the floor, I hope you do the same too." In 2006, Parador wrote his first memoir. He said, "My mom and sister died in the crash. The reason I want to live is because I want to see my dad again. He was the reason that I wanted to survive and to even had to eat the human flesh."
These two documentaries were also a full stop for the Miracle of Andes. We can't judge the survivor of their way to survive because we don't know their feeling and experience. Whether they are hero or cowards, I think you have your answer after watching this video. That's all for today. I'm Jia Wei. Thanks for watching.